I woke up slowly. The anesthesia made everything fuzzy, like trying to see through frosted glass. My hip ached. That made sense. I'd just had surgery. Hip replacement. Routine procedure, doctor, Patel had said. 2 days in the hospital, then home. But something felt wrong. The room was too dim. Too quiet. I blinked, tried to focus. The walls came into view, pale yellow, not hospital white. There was a wooden cross on the wall, a painting of a sunset, soft classical music playing somewhere. This wasn't a hospital room. Hospital rooms had monitors beeping, fluorescent lights, that antiseptic smell. This room smelled like lavender, like someone's bedroom. Where was I? I tried to sit up. Pain shot through my hip, sharp, immediate. I gasped, fell back against the pillows. A woman appeared in the doorway, middle-aged, wearing scrubs, but moving slowly, gently. She had that look the one people get around the dying, soft eyes, quiet voice. "Oh, you're awake," she said. "How are you feeling, Barbara?" Where am I?" My throat was dry. The words came out rough. She poured water from a pitcher, held the cup while I drank. "You're at Serenity Hospice. Your son brought you here yesterday." The water went down wrong. I coughed. "Hospice? There's been a mistake. I had hip surgery. I'm not dying." The nurse, her badge, said. Rebecca smiled. That sad, patient smile. "I know this is confusing. Let me get your chart." She left. I stared at the ceiling. Hospice. The word kept echoing. Hospice was where people went to die. Comfortable care. Pain management. Last days. But I just had routine surgery. Dr. Patel said I'd be walking with a walker in 6 weeks, back to my garden by spring. This was a mistake. A paperwork mix-up. Someone with my name, maybe. Same surgery. Except that patient was terminal. And I. Rebecca came back with a folder. She sat in the chair beside the bed. "Your son Michael signed the admission paperwork. He has your power of attorney." My chest tightened. "Michael did this?" "He was very concerned about your comfort. Said you discussed hospice care, that you wanted to be somewhere peaceful." She opened the folder. "He provided an advance directive. You signed a DNR order." "I never signed that." My voice came out sharper than I meant. "Show me." She hesitated, then turned the folder toward me. There it was. Admission form. Date. 2 days ago, the day of my surgery. Signature line. Barbara Chen. But that wasn't my signature. The B was wrong. Too loopy. I always made my B with a straight line, no flourish. Richard used to tease me about it. "You write like an accountant," he'd say. "That's not my handwriting." Rebecca's smile faltered. "I'm sure this is overwhelming. That is not my signature." I pointed at the paper. My hand was shaking. "I didn't sign that. I never agreed to hospice. Michael, my son, he did this while I was unconscious." She stood up, closed the folder. "Let me get the doctor. He can explain everything." She left quickly. I lay there, heart pounding against my ribs. The room suddenly felt smaller. The sunset painting looked fake. The classical music, was it Mozart? Grated against my ears. Michael had put me here, while I was under anesthesia, vulnerable, trusting that I'd wake up in a hospital recovery room. He'd signed paperwork, forged my signature, told them I was dying. Why? The question sat in my chest like a stone. Why would my son, the boy I'd raised, the man I'd helped through 2 marriages, business failures, money troubles, why would he put his mother in hospice? I looked at the nightstand. There was a photo there, one I recognized. Michael, maybe 10 years old, holding up a fish at the lake cabin. Richard's hand visible at the edge of the frame, steadying him. The photo was in a small gold frame. Someone had placed it there deliberately. Michael, probably. Or Rebecca, following his instructions. Put out a family photo. Make it look like she belongs here. I stared at that little boy's smile. And I didn't recognize him anymore. How did I get here? And more terrifying, how long did Michael plan to keep me here? Let me back up. Explain how I got here. Not the hospice, I still didn't understand that. But how I ended up vulnerable enough for Michael to do this. My name is Barbara Chen. I'm 72 years old. I still live in a 3-bedroom ranch house in the suburbs of Columbus. My husband Richard died 5 years ago. Heart attack. Quick. The doctor said he didn't suffer. I'm not sure I believe that, but it's what I tell myself. The hip surgery was planned. Routine, like I said. Osteoarthritis had been getting worse for 2 years. I could barely walk to the mailbox without pain. Doctor. Patel scheduled the replacement for Tuesday morning. Expected recovery. 2 days in the hospital, then a week in rehab, then home with physical therapy. 6 weeks with a walker. 3 months, until I was back to normal. I'd signed the consent forms, arranged for Margaret, my neighbor, to water my plants while I was gone, packed a bag with comfortable clothes for recovery, called Jennifer, my daughter, to let her know. She lives in Denver. Couldn't fly out for routine surgery, she'd said, but call me when you wake up, Mom. I want to hear your voice. I never made that call. Michael, my son, had seemed supportive. He'd called me Monday night. You nervous about tomorrow? He'd asked. A little, I'd admitted, but Dr. Patel's done hundreds of these. You'll be fine, Mom. You're tough. A pause. I'll check on you Wednesday. Give you time to rest first. I'd thought that was considerate, giving me space, not hovering. Now I understood. He'd needed time to move me from the hospital to hospice, time to forge paperwork, time to make sure I was settled before anyone asked questions. My relationship with Michael had been strained for the past 2 years. Not terrible, just different, distant. It started after he married Brenda, his second wife. Brenda came from money. Her father owned a string of car dealerships, and she had expectations. Country club membership, private school for her kids from her first marriage, new cars every 2 years. Michael tried to keep up, tried to give her the lifestyle she wanted. The restaurant he'd opened his big break failed after 18 months. He'd borrowed money from 3 banks, maxed out credit cards, convinced himself that a farm-to-table bistro in a strip mall would work. It didn't. By the time he closed the doors, he was $200,000 in debt. I'd known he was struggling. I just didn't know how desperate he'd become. Over 10 years, I'd helped Michael get back on his feet more times than I wanted to admit. $35,000 for his divorce attorney when his first marriage fell apart. $50,000 co-signing a business loan for the restaurant he swore would be his big break. $40,000 for the down payment on his house when Brenda insisted they needed something nicer. $125,000 total. My husband used to say, "He needs to stand on his own feet, Barb." I didn't listen. I thought that's what good mothers did help. But Michael never paid any of it back, not $1. He'd say, "I will, Mom, as soon as things turn around." Things never turned around. Jennifer was different. She'd put herself through grad school, worked as a high school teacher in Denver, married a good man, Carlos, and raised 2 kids on a teacher's salary. She never asked for money. Never expected me to bail her out. When I tried to give her money for the grandkids' college fund, she'd said, "Save it, Mom. You'll need it for retirement." She was right. I did need it. 2 months ago, Michael had asked about updating my estate plan. We'd been having coffee at my kitchen table. He dropped by unannounced, which he did sometimes, usually when Brenda was at the country club and he didn't want to go home to an empty house. "You should make sure everything's in order," he'd said. Power of attorney, healthcare directives, that kind of thing. "I will," I'd said, eventually. "You're not getting any younger, Mom." "I'm 72, not 90. I'd laughed it off, changed the subject, asked about the kids, Brenda's kids, my step-grandchildren. Michael didn't seem interested in talking about them. He'd left after 20 minutes. I'd thought it was strange, but I didn't dwell on it. That was my flaw. I avoided discomfort, avoided conflict. Richard used to say I'd let people walk all over me rather than have an uncomfortable conversation. He was right about that, too. I did have a power of attorney. I'd signed it 3 years ago, after Richard died. Michael had suggested it. Just in case you're ever in the hospital and can't make decisions, someone needs to be able to access your accounts, talk to doctors. It had seemed reasonable. Practical. Michael was my son. Of course I trusted him. That power of attorney is what he'd used to put me in hospice. Tuesday morning, I'd gone to the hospital at 6 a.m. Jennifer had texted, "Good luck, Mom. Call me when you're awake." Margaret had brought over a casserole Monday night tuna noodle, my favorite, and said, "I'll come visit you Friday. Bring you magazines." The surgery went fine. That's what Dr. Patel told me later. Textbook procedure. Anesthesia at 7:30. Done by 9. Recovery room by 9:15. I should have been awake by noon, back in a regular hospital room by 2. Instead, I woke up here, Thursday morning, a day and a half later. What happened during those 36 hours? How long was I unconscious? When did Michael sign the hospice admission papers? Who transported me here? Did hospital staff ask questions? Did anyone think this was strange? A woman in her 70s, post-surgical, being moved to hospice instead of recovery? I didn't have answers. I just had this room, this bed, this fake sunset painting, and that photo of Michael holding a fish, smiling like he didn't have a care in the world. My neighbor Margaret probably thought I was still in the hospital. Jennifer thought I was recovering normally. No one knew I was here. No one knew Michael had done this. I was alone. No, not alone. Isolated. There's a difference. I had people who cared about me. I just couldn't reach them. My phone was... Where was my phone? I looked around. No phone. No purse. No personal belongings except that photo Michael had placed on the nightstand. The room had a phone on the far wall. A landline. I could call someone. Except my hip screamed when I tried to shift my weight. I couldn't walk. Couldn't reach the phone. Couldn't. The door opened. A different nurse this time. Younger. She had a tray with pills and water. "Good morning, Barbara. How's your pain level?" "I need to make a phone call." She set the tray down. "Let's get you comfortable first. These will help with the pain." "I need to call my daughter." "We can arrange that later." "Right now, you need to rest. Doctor's orders, no stress." No stress. That's what Michael had told them, probably. My mother's very fragile. She needs peace and quiet. No visitors. No phone calls. Just comfort. I took the pills, not because I agreed, but because my hip hurt so badly I could barely think. The nurse left. I lay there, staring at the cross on the wall, and thought, this is what it feels like to disappear. The doctor came by that afternoon. Dr. Morrison, older man, kind face, the same gentle manner as Rebecca. He pulled up a chair beside my bed. "Your son tells me you've been having memory issues," he said. "I haven't." He smiled. That patient's smile again. It's common for people to not recognize cognitive decline in themselves. I don't have cognitive decline. I had hip surgery, routine surgery. Dr. Patel can confirm. Your son provided documentation, advance directive, healthcare proxy. He's been your primary caregiver for some time now. Michael is not my caregiver. I live alone, independently. I manage my own finances, drive my own car, make my own meals. Mrs. Chen. His voice was soft, practiced. I understand this is difficult, but your son has legal authority to make medical decisions on your behalf. He believes hospice care is what you need right now, and we're here to make you comfortable. Comfortable, that word again, like I was a piece of furniture they were trying to arrange just right. I want to see the paperwork, the documents Michael signed. Dr. Morrison hesitated. "I'll have the staff bring you copies." He stood. "In the meantime, rest. That's the most important thing." He left. I stared at the ceiling, thought about the power of attorney I'd signed 3 years ago. The one Michael said was, just in case. Had I given him this much authority? The ability to place me in hospice against my will? The afternoon crawled by. No one brought the paperwork. Rebecca checked on me twice. Blood pressure, pain medication, gentle questions about comfort. I asked for my phone each time. Later, she said, "Doctor wants you to rest." By evening, I was exhausted. Not from pain, from feeling helpless, from knowing something was terribly wrong and not being able to fix it. That's when I heard Michael's voice. He was in the hallway, just outside my room. I couldn't see him, but I could hear him clearly. He was on his phone. "Mom's settled," he said. His tone was light, casual, like he was talking about moving furniture. "Yeah, the hospice staff is great, very accommodating." I held my breath. Listened. "Lawyer says once she's been here 30 days, we can proceed with the house sale. It's all in order. Power of attorney covers financial decisions if she's incapacitated." My chest tightened. "Brenda's already talked to a realtor. House should appraise around 450. Market's good right now." A pause. "Yeah, I know. I just need to get through this month. Then everything will clear up." His voice moved away, down the hall. I couldn't hear the rest. I lay there, my heart pounding so hard I thought Rebecca would hear it on the monitors, except there were no monitors. This was hospice. They didn't monitor vital signs here. They let people die in peace. 30 days. The house sale. $450,000. I did the math in my head. The house $450, like he'd said. Life insurance $300,000 with Michael as the beneficiary. I'd set that up after Richard died back when I trusted my son. Savings account $80,000. That's what this was about. Money. Michael needed money. The restaurant debt, Brenda's lifestyle, the bills piling up. And I, his mother, the woman who'd given him life, raised him, helped him. Over and over, I was the solution. But there was a problem. I wasn't dying. The life insurance wouldn't pay out until I was actually dead, and the house I'd have to sign papers to sell it. Unless Michael convinced everyone I was incapacitated, dying, in hospice care, mentally declining, no longer able to make my own decisions. Then the power of attorney would cover everything. He could sell the house for my care, could make financial decisions, could manage my accounts. 30 days in hospice. That's all he needed. 30 days to establish that I wasn't getting better, that this was my final placement. Then the house sale, the asset liquidation. And eventually what? Would he wait for me to actually die? Or would he find a way to speed things along? I thought about the pills Rebecca had given me that morning. For pain, she'd said. But how would I know? How would I know what I was taking? "Stop," I told myself. "You're catastrophizing. Michael wouldn't hurt you. He's desperate, yes. He forged documents, yes. But he wouldn't actually. Except he'd already put me in hospice, told doctors I had dementia, forged my signature, isolated me from my daughter, my neighbors, my life. What else was he willing to do?" I heard footsteps. Michael appeared in the doorway. He was holding flowers, yellow roses, my favorite. He smiled. That same smile from the fishing photo, like nothing was wrong. "Hey, Mom, how are you feeling?" I looked at him. This man I'd raised, this man I'd sacrificed for, and I didn't recognize him. "Why am I here, Michael?" "You needed somewhere comfortable, somewhere peaceful." I needed a hospital recovery room. He set the flowers on the nightstand beside the photo. "The doctors thought this was better. Less stressful." "What doctors?" "Dr. Patel said I'd be fine, 2 days in the hospital, then home." "Mom." He pulled up the chair, sat down. His voice dropped, soft, concerned. The voice you'd use with someone confused. "You've been having episodes, forgetting things. Dr. Patel was worried about your cognitive state. That's why I arranged hospice care. I don't have cognitive decline. You think you don't. But the past few months you've been forgetting conversations, repeating yourself. Jennifer noticed it too. Jennifer said no such thing. She didn't want to worry you." He reached for my hand. I pulled it away. "I want to call her. She knows you're here. I called her yesterday. Then she'll visit." "She's in Denver, Mom. It's expensive to fly out on short notice." That might be true, but something in his tone, too smooth, too rehearsed, made me doubt it. "I want my phone. The hospice staff thinks it's better if you rest. No stress. Just comfort." There was that word again. "I'll come back tomorrow. Bring you more flowers." He stood, leaned down like he was going to kiss my forehead. I turned my head. He hesitated, then left. I stared at the yellow roses, my favorite. He'd remembered my favorite flowers. Even now, in the middle of betraying me, he'd remembered that small detail. That night, I found a pen in the hospice room desk, just a cheap ballpoint, probably left by a previous patient or staff member. I pulled out a napkin from the dinner tray. I hadn't eaten much, the food tasted like cardboard, and I wrote down everything I could remember. Real surgery details. Hip replacement. Dr. Patel. Tuesday, 7:30 a.m. Routine procedure. Expected recovery. 2 days hospital, 1 week rehab, 6 weeks walker, 3 months full recovery. Michael's phone call. Mom's settled. 30 days. House sale. $450. Brenda talked to realtor. Assets. House $450K. Life insurance $300K. Savings $80K. Total $830K. Timeline. Surgery Tuesday. Woke Thursday. Today is Friday. 30 days from admission equals early November. I folded the napkin, tucked it under my pillow. It wasn't much, but it was something. Evidence. Proof that I wasn't losing my mind. That I remembered details, timelines, conversations. I wasn't dying. I wasn't demented. I was the victim of fraud. And somehow, I had to prove it. Saturday morning. Day 3 in hospice. I woke up determined. I couldn't walk to the hallway phone. My hip wouldn't allow it, not yet, maybe not for days. But I could make noise. I could demand things. I could refuse to be quiet and comfortable. When Rebecca came in with breakfast, I didn't take the pills. I need to speak to Dr. Patel. My surgeon. Right now. Mrs. Chen. Dr. Morrison is your attending physician here. Dr. Patel performed my surgery 2 days ago. He's expecting me to be in post-surgical recovery at the hospital. Not here. Call him, please. Rebecca looked uncomfortable. I'll speak to Dr. Morrison. No, I'm asking you. Nurse to patient. Something is wrong here. You know it. I can see it in your face. I held her gaze. Please, just call Dr. Patel. Tell him where I am. That's all I'm asking. She hesitated, then nodded. I'll see what I can do. She left. I waited. An hour. 2 hours. I refused lunch, refused the afternoon medications. When Rebecca came back, she said, Dr. Patel is on the phone. I'll bring it to you. She wheeled over a phone cart, one of those tall poles with a landline attached, set it beside my bed, handed me the receiver. Barbara? Dr. Patel's voice. Familiar, grounding. Rebecca from Serenity Hospice called me. She said you're confused about your placement. I'm concerned. I'm not confused. I'm in hospice. Michael signed admission papers, but you told me I'd be in the hospital for 2 days, then rehab. What happened? Silence. Then, you were discharged from the hospital Wednesday afternoon. To where? Your son said you'd arranged home hospice care, that you'd decided, given your age and the surgical risks, that you wanted comfort care instead of aggressive rehabilitation. My hand tightened on the receiver. I never said that. Your son presented documentation, an advance directive, healthcare proxy. Did you see me after the surgery? Did you talk to me about hospice? No, you were still in recovery when your son made the arrangements. But Barbara, if you didn't authorize this... I didn't. Dr. Patel, listen to me. I had a routine hip replacement, successful surgery, no complications, correct? Yes, textbook procedure. No cognitive impairment, no dementia diagnosis, no reason I couldn't proceed with normal post-surgical rehabilitation? None. Your pre-surgical evaluations were all clear. You're a healthy 72-year-old woman with arthritis. That's it. I closed my eyes. Relief washed over me, not because I didn't know these things, but because someone else knew them too. Someone who could confirm my reality. Then why am I in hospice? I don't know. His voice was tight now, concerned. But I'm going to contact the hospital administration. This doesn't sound right. Dr. Patel, my son, has power of attorney. Can he do this? Can he place me in hospice without my consent? If he has healthcare power of attorney and you're deemed incapacitated, yes, but you're not incapacitated, you're post-surgical. There's a difference. A pause. Barbara, I'm going to make some calls. Sit tight. He hung up. Rebecca took the phone away. She wouldn't meet my eyes. You heard that, I said. She nodded. Something's wrong here, you know it. I'll speak to Dr. Morrison. She left quickly. 2 hours later, a woman arrived. Mid-40s, professional suit, hospital ID badge, Linda Martinez, patient advocate, Riverside Hospital. She carried a folder. Mrs. Chen, I've reviewed your case with Dr. Patel and our hospital administration. May I sit? Please. She pulled up the chair, opened the folder. You were admitted to Riverside Tuesday for hip replacement surgery. Surgery was successful. Post-operative recovery was normal. Wednesday afternoon at 2 p.m., your son, Michael Chen, presented healthcare power of attorney and requested discharge to home hospice care. He provided an advance directive indicating you'd chosen comfort care over rehabilitation. I never signed that. Linda pulled out a document, turned it toward me. This advance directive, is this your signature? I looked at it, the same signature I'd seen on the hospice admission form. No, that's forged. Linda studied it. Pulled out another document, the power of attorney I'd signed 3 years ago, my real signature. Compared them side by side. The difference was obvious. My real signature. Clean, straight lines, accountant style like Richard used to tease me about. The forged signature. Loopy, flourished, someone trying to imitate my handwriting but getting it wrong. These don't match, Linda said quietly. No, they don't. She made a note. Mrs. Chen, I'm going to arrange for a psychiatric evaluation, standard procedure when there are questions about capacity and consent. I'll take whatever test you want. I'm also connecting you with an attorney who specializes in elder law. Her name is Susan Martinez, no relation to me. She smiled slightly, but she's the best. She'll want to review all the documents, the power of attorney, the advance directive, the hospice admission forms. How do I pay for an attorney? She works with our patient advocacy program. Many of her cases are pro bono for situations like this. I'll have her call you this afternoon. Linda stood. Mrs. Chen, I want you to know if your son placed you here under false pretenses, that's a serious matter. Elder abuse, possibly fraud. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Thank you. My voice cracked. I hadn't realized how much I needed someone to believe me. After Linda left, I cried. Not from sadness, from relief. Someone was helping. Someone saw what was happening. That afternoon, Susan Martinez called. Attorney Susan had a crisp, professional voice, efficient but warm. Barbara. Linda briefed me. Let me be direct. This looks like guardianship fraud. Your son used a legitimate power of attorney to place you in hospice, then forged an advance directive to justify keeping you there. The question is why? Money. I told her about the overheard phone call, the house sale, the 30-day timeline. Susan was quiet while I spoke. Then, how much are your total assets worth? About $830,000. House, life insurance, savings. And Michael has access to your accounts through the power of attorney? I think so. I signed it 3 years ago. I don't remember all the specifics. I'll need to see that document. But Barbara, if he's been accessing your accounts, moving money, preparing for asset liquidation, that's financial exploitation. Combined with the forged documents, we're looking at criminal charges. My hands were shaking. I just want out of here. I want to go home. We'll get you out. But we need to move carefully. Document everything. The hospital is arranging a psychiatric evaluation for tomorrow. That's good, it'll prove you're competent. In the meantime, I'm sending an investigator to pull your financial records. I'll need your permission to access bank statements. You have it. Good. And Barbara? Don't sign anything Michael brings you. Don't agree to anything verbally. If he visits, keep conversations short. Act confused if you need to let him think his plan is working. I'm not a good actress. You don't need to be. Just protect yourself until we can get you out of there legally. She paused. One more thing. Do you have family besides Michael? Anyone who can support you through this? My daughter, Jennifer. She's in Denver. Call her, today. Tell her what's happening. She needs to know. After Susan hung up, Rebecca came back. I asked for the phone again. She wheeled it over without argument. I think Linda had spoken to the staff. I dialed Jennifer's cell number. She answered on the second ring. Mom, I've been trying to call you. Michael said you were resting, not to disturb you. Jennifer. I kept my voice steady. I need you to listen. Don't interrupt. Just listen. I told her everything. The surgery, waking up in hospice, Michael's phone call, the forged documents, the attorney. When I finished, Jennifer was silent. Then, I'm getting on a plane tonight. I'll be there tomorrow. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Michael told me you had complications from surgery, said you were confused, that the doctors recommended hospice. I believed him. I'm so sorry I believed him. He's your brother. You wanted to believe him. He's also a liar. Her voice was hard now. Angry. I'll be there tomorrow, Mom, and then we're fixing this. After we hung up, I lay back against the pillows. My hip ached. I'd refused the morning pain medication. I wanted to keep my mind clear. But the pain was almost worth it. Because for the first time since I'd woken up in this place, I didn't feel helpless. I had Dr. Patel confirming the surgery was routine, Linda the patient advocate investigating, Attorney Susan building a case, Jennifer flying in to support me. And most importantly, I had evidence: the forged signature, the mismatched documents, the phone call I'd overheard. Sunday morning, Dr. Sarah Kim arrived, geriatric psychiatrist. She spent 2 hours with me. Memory tests: name the president, count backwards from 100 by 7s, recall 3 objects after 5 minutes. Questions about my life, where I lived, my husband's name, my children's names, what year Richard died, future planning, what did I want to do after recovery? Financial understanding: could I explain my assets, my bills, my budget? I answered everything clearly, perfectly, because I wasn't confused. I never had been. Dr. Kim wrote her evaluation in front of me. Read it aloud. Patient Barbara Chen is a 72-year-old female, post-operative day 4 from hip replacement surgery. Mental status examination reveals: alert and oriented times 4. Mini mental state examination score, 30 out of 30. Memory intact. Executive function appropriate. Judgment sound. Patient demonstrates full capacity for medical and financial decision-making. No evidence of cognitive impairment, dementia, or diminished capacity. Patient's placement in hospice care is not medically indicated and appears to be based on inaccurate information regarding patient's mental status. She closed her folder. Mrs. Chen, you're one of the sharpest women your age I've evaluated. There is absolutely nothing wrong with your mind. Tell that to my son. I'll be telling it to the court. Susan Martinez requested this evaluation as part of your case. This report will be evidence that you were competent all along. After Dr. Kim left, I sat there with that phrase echoing in my head. Evidence that you were competent all along. Not just competent now. All along, meaning the advance directive Michael had used was invalid, meaning the hospice placement was fraudulent. Meaning everything he'd done, every signature he'd forged, every lie he'd told could be undone. I thought about the napkin under my pillow, the notes I'd written, and I realized I'd been building my own case from the start, documenting, remembering, refusing to disappear quietly. Michael had underestimated me. He'd thought I'd be easy to manipulate, thought I'd stay quiet, take the pills, fade away peacefully while he liquidated my assets. He was wrong. Monday morning. Day 5. Susan Martinez arrived at the hospice with a court order. She wore a navy suit, carried a leather briefcase, and had the focused energy of someone who didn't waste time. Barbara. We're getting you out of here. She handed papers to Dr. Morrison, who'd been summoned to my room. Court order for immediate transfer to Riverside Hospital Rehabilitation Facility. Neutral ground while we sort this out. Judge reviewed Dr. Kim's psychiatric evaluation and Dr. Patel's surgical records. Mrs. Chen is not hospice appropriate. She's post-surgical and requires rehabilitation, not end-of-life care. Dr. Morrison read the order. Sighed. I'll arrange transport. Today, Susan said. Not a question, a statement. Today. 2 hours later, I was in an ambulance. Not the kind with sirens, the medical transport kind. Quiet and efficient. They transferred me carefully, mindful of my hip. The paramedic was gentle, professional. Asked about my pain level, adjusted the gurney. When we pulled away from Serenity Hospice, I looked back through the small window. The building looked peaceful, serene, just like its name. But I knew what it really was, a cage Michael had built for me. Not anymore. The rehab facility was different, brighter, louder. Physical therapy equipment visible through glass walls, parallel bars, exercise mats, elderly patients working with therapists. This was a place for getting better, not for dying. They settled me into a room, private thankfully, window overlooking a small courtyard. Jennifer was already there, waiting. She must have come straight from the airport. Mom? She hugged me carefully, avoiding my hip. When she pulled back, her eyes were red. I'm so sorry. I should have... You didn't know. I should have questioned him. When he called and said you were in hospice, I should have called you directly. I should have... Jennifer. I took her hand. He lied to both of us. That's on him, not you. Susan set her briefcase on the small table. Ladies, we have work to do. Barbara, you're safe here for now, but Michael still has that power of attorney. We need to revoke it and file a counter petition before he escalates. What can he do? I'm out of hospice. The psychiatric evaluation proves I'm competent. He can file for emergency guardianship, claim you're vulnerable, that you need protection. He's already invested in this fraud, 5 days in hospice, forged documents. He's not going to walk away quietly. Susan pulled out files. My investigator pulled your banking records. You gave me permission, remember? Yes. She opened a folder. Bank statements. The top one was flagged with a yellow sticky note. 2 weeks before your surgery, Michael transferred $15,000 from your savings account to his checking account. I stared at the statement. There it was. October 10th. Transfer. $15,000. Authorization. POA. Access. I didn't authorize that. The bank allowed it because he has power of attorney with financial authority, technically legal if you'd been incapacitated. But you weren't. You were fully competent. Which means this was theft. Susan pulled out more statements. He's been monitoring your accounts for months. Small transfers here and there, 1,000 here, 500 there. Testing the waters. The $15,000 was a trial run. Once you were in hospice, he planned to liquidate everything. Jennifer leaned over the statements. That son of a bitch. He's also been in contact with a realtor about selling your house. My investigator confirmed it. Michael met with Brad Stevens from Premier Properties 3 weeks ago, provided a house appraisal. Discussed timeline for closing a sale. 3 weeks ago. Before my surgery. This wasn't a desperate decision made in the moment. This was premeditated. He's been planning this for months. I said quietly. Yes. Susan's voice was firm, professional, but I heard the anger underneath. This is elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud, and potentially attempted. She stopped. Attempted what? Susan met my eyes. Barbara, what do you think would have happened if you'd stayed in hospice, if no one had questioned the placement? I thought about the pills, the comfortable care, the 30-day timeline Michael had mentioned on the phone. He needed me to die, I said, or at least be declared permanently incapacitated. Otherwise, the life insurance wouldn't pay out. Otherwise, I could contest the house sale. Jennifer's face went pale. Are you saying Michael was trying to... I don't know what he was trying to do. Susan interrupted. But I know this. He placed his mother in hospice under false pretenses, forged legal documents, and began liquidating her assets. Whatever his endgame was, it wasn't in Barbara's best interest. The room was quiet. I looked at the bank statements. $15,000. Such a large number. And yet compared to what Michael had planned to take, it was nothing. A test. A down payment. What do we do? I asked. Susan pulled out a legal pad. Here's the plan. Step 1. We file to revoke the power of attorney. Immediately. Today. I already have the paperwork ready, you just need to sign. Done. Step 2. We file elder abuse charges with Adult Protective Services. The forged signature, the unauthorized bank transfer, the fraudulent hospice placement, it's all documented. Will he go to jail? Possibly. Depends on the prosecutor and whether Michael cooperates, but at minimum, he'll face probation, restitution, and a permanent record. Step 3? Jennifer asked. Step 3. We get a forensic document analyst to examine the forged advance directive, prove definitively it's not Barbara's signature. That eliminates any argument Michael might make about Barbara consenting to hospice care. I nodded. What about the house? Can he still try to sell it? Not once the POA is revoked. And I'll file a notice with the county recorder's office flags your property against unauthorized sale attempts. But Barbara, you'll need to update your estate plan. New will. New healthcare directive. Name someone you trust as backup. Someone who won't put you in hospice. We all looked at Jennifer. I'll do it, she said, and I'm moving back to Ohio. Carlos and I already talked about it. The kids can finish the school year in Denver, but by summer we're here, close enough to help. You don't have to uproot your whole life. Mom. Michael put you in hospice. He forged documents. He stole $15,000. Her voice cracked. I'm not living 2,000 miles away anymore. I'm not giving him another chance to hurt you. I squeezed her hand. Couldn't speak. Susan made notes. Okay, here's the timeline. Today, sign POA revocation, file with the court. Tomorrow, I meet with the prosecutor about criminal charges. Wednesday, forensic analyst examines documents. Next week, we go to court, get a restraining order if necessary. What about Michael? I asked. Does he know I'm here? That I'm out of hospice? Not yet. The hospice is required to notify him, but there's usually a delay. We have maybe 24 hours before he realizes you're gone. And then he'll panic. He'll either back down, admit what he did, try to minimize damage, or he'll double down. File for emergency guardianship, claim you're being manipulated, that I'm taking advantage of you. Which is more likely? Susan's expression was grim. He's already in too deep. He's forged documents, stolen money, committed fraud. If he backs down now, he faces criminal charges with no defense. So my guess? He'll double down. I thought about Michael. The boy in the fishing photo. The man who'd cried about his failing restaurant, who'd begged for help one more time. The son who'd put me in hospice while I slept. Let him fight, I said. Susan and Jennifer both looked at me. I'm not the same woman who signed that power of attorney 3 years ago. I trusted too much, avoided conflict, let him take advantage because I didn't want to admit my son was. I stopped, took a breath. I enabled him. For 20 years, every check I wrote, every loan I co-signed, I taught him he could take from me without consequence. I looked at the bank statements again. Then at Jennifer. Then at Susan. Not anymore. This ends now. Susan smiled. Good. Because we're going to win this. After Susan left to file the paperwork, Jennifer and I sat together in the quiet room. She'd brought a photo from my house, one I kept on the living room mantel. Our whole family, at the lake cabin, maybe 15 years ago. Richard and me, Michael and his first wife, Jennifer and Carlos, the grandkids as babies, everyone smiling, happy. I looked at that photo for a long time. Michael stood between Richard and me, his arm around my shoulders, before the restaurant, before Brenda, before the debt. When he was still the son I thought I knew. When did it change? I asked Jennifer. When did he become someone who could do this? I don't know, Mom. Maybe it was always there. Maybe desperation just brought it out. She paused. Or maybe people change when they value money more than people. I thought about Richard, what he'd said about Michael needing to stand on his own feet. Richard had seen something I'd been unwilling to see, that helping Michael wasn't helping him at all. It was enabling dependency, teaching him that someone would always bail him out. Your father was right, I said. About what? Everything. I sat there with the papers spread in front of me. 43 years with Richard, 20 years of helping Michael, and he'd put me in hospice. I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt clear. This was the hill I'd die on, except I wasn't dying. That was the whole point. I'm going to fight him, I said. Whatever it takes. Court, lawyers, all of it. I'm fighting. Jennifer smiled through tears. Good. Because you're not alone. I'm right here. That night, after Jennifer left to find a hotel, I lay in the rehab bed and thought about the past 5 days, waking up in hospice, the fear, the helplessness. Rebecca's gentle voice telling me to rest. Dr. Morrison's patient smile. Michael bringing yellow roses lying to my face. And then the shift. Dr. Patel's phone call. Linda, the patient advocate. Attorney Susan. Dr. Kim's evaluation. The court order. Freedom. I wasn't a victim anymore. I was a woman with evidence, with allies, with a plan. Michael had underestimated me, thought I'd be easy to manipulate because I'd always been easy to manipulate, thought I'd take the pills, stay quiet, fade away while he took everything. But I was still here. And I wasn't backing down. Week 2 began with paperwork. Susan filed the POA revocation Tuesday morning. By afternoon, Michael knew I was out of hospice. He called my room at the rehab facility. I let it ring. He called again. I picked up. Mom, what's going on? The hospice said, you left. I was released. Court order. Silence. Then, court order? Mom, who are you talking to? Someone's manipulating you. Dr. Kim evaluated me. Psychiatric evaluation. I'm fully competent. The hospice placement was fraudulent. Fraudulent? I was trying to help. You forged my signature on an advance directive. I did not. The forensic analyst confirmed it. Your signatures don't match mine, so either you forged it or someone else did on your behalf. Either way, you're responsible. His voice changed. Harder. You've hired an attorney. Yes. To do what? Sue me? I'm your son. You stole $15,000 from my bank account. Silence again. Longer this time. That was a loan. For the house payment. I was going to pay you back. Without asking? Without telling me? You would have said yes. That's not how loans work, Michael. You ask. I decide. You don't just take. Fine, I'll return it. Just don't do this. Don't drag lawyers and courts into this. We're family. You put me in hospice while I was unconscious. You told doctors I had dementia. You planned to sell my house. Calm. We stopped being family when you chose money over me. I hung up. My hands shook, but not from fear, from anger, from the clarity of finally saying it out loud. Jennifer had been listening from the doorway. You okay? I'm okay. Michael didn't call back, but 2 days later Susan brought news. Michael filed a counter petition, emergency guardianship. Claims you're vulnerable to undue influence, that I'm manipulating you for financial gain, that you need protection. I'd expected this. Susan had warned me, but hearing it still felt like a punch. What does that mean? It means we go to court. Hearings. You'll need to undergo another competency evaluation. The judge will want an independent assessment, not just Dr. Kim's report. More tests? Yes. But Barbara, this is actually good. It gives us a platform. Michael's arguing you're incompetent, we prove you're not. He's arguing I'm manipulating you, we show you made informed decisions. He's arguing you need protection, we show he's the one you need protection from. The hearing was scheduled for Friday, 4 days away. Wednesday, the forensic document analyst's report came back. 20 pages. But the conclusion was 2 sentences. The signature on the advance directive dated October 15th does not match Barbara Chen's authenticated signature samples. The disputed signature shows characteristics consistent with forgery hesitation marks, tremor, unnatural pen lifts. Susan read it to me over the phone. This is solid evidence. Eliminates any argument that you consented to hospice. Thursday, I underwent the second psychiatric evaluation. Different doctor this time, Dr. Alan Peters, appointed by the court. He was thorough. 3 hours of testing. Memory, logic, financial understanding, judgment, future planning. Identical to Dr. Kim's evaluation, just longer. He wrote his report that afternoon. Susan got a copy immediately. Patient demonstrates full cognitive capacity, no evidence of undue influence. Patient's decision-making is independent, informed, and consistent with her stated values and goals. Friday morning. The hearing. Jennifer drove me to the courthouse. Susan met us outside. Michael will be there with his attorney. Remember, stay calm, answer questions directly, don't engage emotionally. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Judge Richardson presided, older woman, gray hair, reading glasses. She reviewed documents while we waited. Michael sat at the petitioner's table with his attorney, a young man in an expensive suit. Michael looked terrible. Thinner. Dark circles under his eyes. For a moment, I felt something like sympathy. Then I remembered the hospice room. The yellow roses. The lies. The judge spoke. Mr. Chen, you've petitioned for emergency guardianship of your mother, Barbara Chen. You claim she's vulnerable and needs protection. Mrs. Chen has filed to revoke your power of attorney and raised allegations of elder abuse. Let's address the guardianship petition first. Michael's attorney stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Chen is 72 years old, recently underwent surgery, and has been making erratic decisions, including discharging herself from hospice care against medical advice. We believe she's been influenced by Attorney Martinez, who stands to profit from managing Mrs. Chen's estate. Susan stood. Your Honor, I'm pro bono. I have no financial interest in Mrs. Chen's estate, and Mrs. Chen didn't discharge herself against medical advice. She was released by court order after a psychiatric evaluation confirmed hospice placement was inappropriate. The judge looked at Michael's attorney. Do you have evidence Mrs. Chen is incompetent? We have evidence of declining judgment. Medical evidence, psychiatric evaluations, cognitive testing. The attorney hesitated. We're requesting an independent evaluation. Mrs. Chen has undergone 2 independent evaluations. Both conclude she's fully competent. The judge pulled out Dr. Peters' report. Dr. Peters evaluated her yesterday. Quote, full cognitive capacity, no evidence of diminished judgment. Do you have contradicting medical evidence? No, Your Honor, but... Then the guardianship petition is denied. She turned to Susan. Counselor, you filed to revoke the power of attorney? Yes, Your Honor. On grounds of abuse. Mr. Chen used the POA to place Mrs. Chen in hospice under false pretenses, forged an advance directive, and made unauthorized financial transfers. Michael's attorney objected. The transfers were authorized by the POA. They were made while Mrs. Chen was fully competent and without her knowledge, Susan interrupted. That's financial exploitation, not authorized use. The judge read the forensic report, the bank statements, Dr. Kim's evaluation, the hospice admission timeline. Finally, she looked at Michael. Mr. Chen, did you sign an advance directive on behalf of your mother? Michael's attorney whispered to him. Michael cleared his throat. I thought I believed my mother wanted hospice care. She talked about not wanting aggressive treatment. Did she sign this advance directive? I know, but I thought, you forged her signature. I was acting in what I believed was her best interest. By placing her in hospice after routine surgery, by telling medical staff she had dementia when she didn't, by transferring $15,000 from her account without permission. Michael's face went red. He looked at me. I held his gaze. Didn't look away. The judge made notes. Mrs. Chen, do you wish to revoke the power of attorney granted to your son? Yes, Your Honor. And do you understand the implications that you'll need to name a new healthcare proxy and financial agent? I understand. My daughter Jennifer will serve as healthcare proxy. My attorney has drafted new documents. Very well. The power of attorney dated 3 years ago is hereby revoked. Mr. Chen no longer has authority to make medical or financial decisions on Mrs. Chen's behalf. She looked at Susan. Counselor, you've referred this to Adult Protective Services? Yes, Your Honor. Elder abuse investigation is ongoing. And the county prosecutor? Reviewing for criminal charges, financial exploitation, forgery, fraud. The judge turned to Michael. Mr. Chen, you should consult with your attorney about the criminal implications of your actions. This court finds clear evidence of elder abuse. Whether that rises to criminal charges is for the prosecutor to decide. Michael stood abruptly. She's my mother. I was trying to help. You forged documents, stole money, placed her in hospice under false pretenses. The judge's voice was cold. That's not help. That's abuse. Court adjourned. She left. Michael stared at me across the courtroom. I couldn't read his expression. Anger? Shame? Fear? His attorney pulled him toward the exit. They left without another word. Susan squeezed my shoulder. You did great. But I didn't feel great. I felt empty, relieved, yes, vindicated, yes, but also sad, because that man walking out of the courtroom was still my son, still the little boy I'd raised, and I didn't know if we'd ever come back from this. Jennifer drove me back to the rehab facility. I was exhausted, not from physical pain, though my hip ached from sitting in the hard courtroom chair, but from emotional weight. What happens now? Now we wait. The prosecutor decides whether to file criminal charges. Adult Protective Services completes their investigation. You update your estate documents. And you focus on recovery, physical therapy, getting strong enough to go home. And Michael? That's up to him. He can accept what happened and stay away, or he can keep fighting. But he has no legal standing anymore, no POA, no access to your accounts, no claim on your decisions. Will he go to jail? Honestly, probably not. First-time offense, family situation, willingness to cooperate. Most likely he'll face probation, restitution, and mandatory counseling. But he'll have a record, and he won't be able to work with vulnerable adults again. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the judge's words. That's not help. That's abuse. Michael had convinced himself he was helping. Or maybe he'd convinced himself the ends justified the means, save his marriage, pay his debts, fix his life, and I was just collateral damage, an obstacle, a resource to exploit. When did that happen? When did I stop being his mother and become a problem to solve? I didn't have an answer. Maybe there wasn't one. Maybe desperation had just shown me who Michael really was. Or maybe I'd enabled him so long that he'd never learned boundaries, never learned that people aren't resources. Either way, this was the hill I'd chosen, and I'd won. But winning felt lonelier than I'd expected. Week 4, the mediation was scheduled at Susan's law office neutral ground. As she'd said, not a courtroom, not hostile territory. Just a conference room with a long table, water pitchers, and a view of downtown Columbus. I'd been doing physical therapy every day. The hip was healing. I could walk with a walker now, slowly, carefully, but independently. That felt important. Walking into this meeting on my own feet, not being wheeled in like someone helpless. Jennifer drove me. Susan met us in the lobby. Ready? She asked. As ready as I'll be. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The conference room was already set up. Mediator at the head of the table, professional woman in her 50s, name placard reading Ellen Moss, J.D. Michael sat on one side with his attorney, empty chairs on the other side for us. Michael looked up when I entered. Our eyes met. He looked away first. Ellen stood. Thank you all for coming. I'm Ellen Moss, court-appointed mediator. We're here to resolve the issues between Barbara Chen and her son Michael regarding the power of attorney, alleged financial exploitation, and potential criminal charges. This is a voluntary mediation. Both parties have agreed to participate. Anything discussed here is confidential unless we reach a settlement agreement. She outlined the ground rules. Speak respectfully. No interruptions. Focus on resolution, not blame. Both attorneys would speak for their clients unless asked a direct question. Let's begin. Mr. Chen, would you like to explain your position? Michael's attorney spoke. Your Honor. I'm not a judge. Miss Moss is fine. Miss Moss. My client acted out of concern for his mother's welfare. Mrs. Chen is elderly, recently underwent surgery, and my client believed she needed additional care. The hospice placement was made in good faith. The hospice placement was made with forged documents, Susan interrupted. Forged advance directive, forged signature. Good faith doesn't involve forgery. My client disputes. The forensic analyst confirmed the signature was forged. There's no dispute. Ellen raised a hand. Let's establish facts first. Mrs. Chen, did you sign an advance directive authorizing hospice care? No. Mr. Chen, who signed the advance directive? Michael's attorney whispered to him. Michael cleared his throat. I did. But I thought Mom had talked about not wanting tubes and machines. I thought I was honoring her wishes. Did your mother specifically discuss hospice care after hip replacement surgery? No. But, so you assumed? Yes. Ellen made notes. Let's move to the financial issues. Mrs. Chen, Attorney Martinez provided evidence of a $15,000 transfer from your savings account. Did you authorize this transfer? No, I didn't know about it until 2 weeks ago. Mr. Chen? His attorney started to speak, but Michael cut him off. I took it. I needed it for the mortgage. I was going to pay it back. Without asking permission? She would have said yes. She always said yes. The words hit me like a slap. She always said yes. Like I was an ATM, a resource, not a person with boundaries. Ellen looked at me. Mrs. Chen, is that accurate? Would you have given your son $15,000 if he'd asked? I thought about it. Honestly. Would I have? Maybe, I said, if he'd explained why, if he'd shown me a plan to pay it back, if he'd been honest. I looked at Michael, but he didn't ask. He just took. That's the difference. Ellen turned back to Michael. Mr. Chen, Attorney Martinez's investigator found evidence that you'd been monitoring your mother's accounts for months. Small transfers, 1,000 here, 500 there. Were those authorized? Michael's face went red. Those were loans. Informal loans. Family helping family. Did your mother know about them? Silence. Mr. Chen? No. So you stole from your mother, multiple times, over several months. I was desperate. Desperation doesn't justify theft. Ellen's voice was firm, professional, but I heard the disgust underneath. She pulled out another document. I also have testimony from a hospice nurse, Rebecca Martin. She's willing to testify about your behavior the day you admitted your mother. Attorney Martinez? Susan nodded. We have Miss Martin available by video conference if needed. Ellen pressed a button. A screen on the wall flickered on. Rebecca appeared sitting in what looked like her home office, wearing a cardigan instead of scrubs. Miss Martin, thank you for joining us. Can you describe Michael Chen's behavior when he admitted Barbara Chen to Serenity Hospice? Rebecca's voice was clear, professional. Mr. Chen arrived with paperwork already completed. He seemed rushed. He asked how long patients typically stayed in hospice, which is an unusual question from family members. Most families are focused on comfort, not timeline. He also asked about DNR protocols, visitation policies, and whether daily visits were required. When I mentioned most families visit daily, he said he'd be busy and asked if that was a problem. What did you observe about his emotional state? He didn't seem sad. He seemed stressed, like he was checking items off a list. When I asked about his mother's medical history, he was vague. Said she'd been declining, had memory issues, but the paperwork from the hospital showed a routine surgical procedure. It didn't match. Did you voice these concerns? I documented them in my notes. I flagged the admission as unusual, but Mr. Chen had power of attorney, the advance directive appeared legitimate, and hospital discharge paperwork was in order. I had no grounds to refuse admission. Ellen looked at Michael. Mr. Chen, Miss. Martin described you as rushed and focused on timeline. Why were you asking about how long patients typically stay in hospice? Michael's attorney whispered urgently. Michael shook his head. I was curious. I didn't know anything about hospice. You were planning the house sale, I said. My voice was steady. Quiet. You told Brenda on the phone once I'd been in hospice 30 days. You could proceed. That's why you wanted to know the timeline. Mom, that's not... You met with a realtor 3 weeks before my surgery. Brad Stevens, Premier Properties. He appraised my house at $450,000. Susan pulled out a document. Mr. Brad Stevens' testimony. Via phone. Ellen pressed another button. A man's voice came through the speaker, no video this time, just audio. This is Brad Stevens. I met with Michael Chen on September 20th. He told me his mother was declining, that she'd likely need to move to a care facility, and that the family wanted to sell her house to pay for her care. He asked about timeline to close a sale, how fast we could move if needed. I provided an appraisal and estimated we could close within 30 days if we found a motivated buyer. Did Mr. Chen mention his mother was about to undergo routine hip replacement surgery? No, he implied she was already in decline, mentally and physically. Did he mention she was fully competent and living independently? No. Ellen turned off the speaker. Mr. Chen, you met with a realtor before your mother's surgery, 3 weeks before. This wasn't a sudden decision made in crisis. This was premeditated. Michael's attorney tried to intervene. Miss Moss, my client's financial situation was dire. His business had failed. His marriage was under strain. None of which justifies elder abuse. Michael stood suddenly, his chair scraped against the floor. You want to know why? Fine. I'll tell you why. His attorney grabbed his arm. Michael. Michael shook him off, looked at me, and everything came spilling out. I was drowning, Mom. $200,000 in debt, Brenda threatening to leave, the bank foreclosing on the house. I couldn't sleep, couldn't think. Every day was just, how do I fix this? How do I survive? His voice cracked, and I kept thinking about your house, the life insurance, the savings. You're 72. You don't need all that money. But I did. I needed it to save my life, my marriage, everything. So you put me in hospice. I thought. He stopped, rubbed his face. I thought if you were in hospice declining, it wouldn't matter. You'd be comfortable, cared for. And I could access the assets to fix my problems. Then later, when it was over, everything would be settled. No one would ask questions. The room went silent. Ellen spoke carefully. When it was over. What did you mean by that? Michael's attorney stood. We need a recess. My client needs to consult. I meant when she died, Michael said flatly. When Mom died naturally. In hospice. Comfortable. That's what hospice is for, right? Comfort at the end? Your mother wasn't at the end, Ellen said. She had routine surgery. She was expected to recover fully. I know that now. Did you know it then? Silence. Mr. Chen, did you place your mother in hospice knowing she wasn't dying? Michael looked at his attorney. At Jennifer. At me. Yes. Jennifer made a sound, half gasp, half sob. I reached for her hand. Ellen made notes. Long, careful notes. Finally, Mr. Chen, you've admitted to forgery, financial exploitation, and fraudulent hospice placement. You placed your mother in end-of-life care when she was medically stable, with the intent to access her financial assets. Do you understand the severity of what you've done? Yes. Your attorney advised you not to speak. Why did you? Michael looked at me. Because it's the truth, and I'm tired of lying. I watched him cry. Part of me still loved him. He was my son. But I knew what he'd done. He'd chosen money over me. He'd chosen his comfort over my dignity. That's not something you forgive easily. Ellen spoke. Here are the terms. Non-negotiable. Mr. Chen will repay the $15,000 he stole, plus legal fees and medical expenses, total restitution approximately $40,000. He will sign an agreement barring him from contesting Mrs. Chen's estate plan. He will plead guilty to elder abuse reduced charge, probation instead of jail time, mandatory financial counseling. He will have no contact with Mrs. Chen unless she initiates it. Mrs. Chen will update her will and estate documents, naming her daughter as executor and healthcare proxy. The power of attorney granted to Mr. Chen is permanently revoked. She looked at Michael's attorney. These terms are contingent on Mr. Chen's cooperation. If he contests, the prosecutor files full criminal charges: forgery, fraud, financial exploitation, attempted guardianship manipulation. He'll face prison time. Do we have an agreement? Michael's attorney whispered to him. Michael nodded. We agree. Ellen turned to me. Mrs. Chen? I looked at Michael. This man I'd raised. This man I'd sacrificed for. And I made a choice. I agree, on one condition. Tang, what condition? Michael gets therapy, real therapy, not just financial counseling. He needs to understand why he did this, why he thought money was more important than his mother. Ellen looked at Michael. Will you agree to that? Michael nodded. Couldn't speak. Then we have a settlement. Ellen began writing. I'll draft the agreement. Both parties will sign. Court will finalize next week. The mediation ended. Michael left with his attorney no goodbye, no apology beyond what he'd already said, just gone. Jennifer and I sat there for a moment. Susan gathered papers. You did it, Jennifer said. You won. But I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt grief, because winning meant acknowledging my son had tried to steal my life. Winning meant accepting our relationship was broken, maybe permanently. Susan squeezed my shoulder. Barbara, what you did today, setting boundaries after years of enabling, that takes courage. It doesn't feel courageous, it feels sad. It can be both. We left the office. Jennifer drove me back to rehab. I was exhausted, not from the hip that was healing fine, from the emotional weight of watching my son confess to wanting me dead. Or at least, not caring if I died, as long as he got the money. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying his words. When it was over, like I was a problem with an expiration date, like my death was a solution. Some days I wonder if he'll change. If therapy will help him understand what he did. Most days I don't think about him at all. I'm too busy living. And maybe that's the best revenge. Just living well. Week 6. The court finalized everything. The power of attorney was officially revoked. New healthcare directive filed Jennifer named as my healthcare proxy, but only if I became truly incapacitated, verified by 2 independent physicians. I kept control while I was competent. That mattered. Michael was placed on the Adult Protective Services Registry. Permanent record. He couldn't work in nursing homes, hospitals, anywhere vulnerable adults might need protection. The irony wasn't lost on me. He'd tried to exploit his own mother, and now he couldn't be trusted with anyone's elderly relative. The elder abuse charge went through. Plea deal, like Susan had predicted, 2 years probation, mandatory therapy, financial counseling, and regular psychological treatment. $40,000 in restitution, $15,000 for the theft, $25,000 for legal fees and medical expenses, payment plan over 5 years, and a no-contact order unless I initiated communication. That last part hurt more than I'd expected. A court order keeping my son away from me. But it was necessary. I needed space, time. Maybe someday I'd be ready to talk to him. Maybe not. Jennifer moved. Not immediately. The kids finished their school semester in Denver. But by June they were here. House in Westerville. 20 minutes from mine. Close enough to help, far enough that I kept my independence. The rest of the family learned what happened. My sister Joan called, horrified. I always thought Michael was the responsible one. Shows what I know. My cousin Diane sent flowers. My niece Emily visited, brought homemade soup. The family gatherings shifted. Michael wasn't invited to Thanksgiving, wasn't expected at Christmas. No one pressured me to forgive him. No one suggested family reconciliation. They just supported my boundaries. 3 months after the mediation, Brenda filed for divorce. Jennifer told me she'd heard through mutual friends. Apparently, the elder abuse case, the restitution payments, the public nature of what Michael had done, it was too much. Brenda wanted out. The house went into foreclosure. Michael moved into an apartment. Started over from scratch. I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered the hospice room, and the sympathy faded. I updated my will. Jennifer as executor. Estate split. 70% to Jennifer, 30% divided among my grandchildren, niece, and cousin. Michael received $1, a deliberate, minimal bequest. Susan explained, leaving him nothing would let him contest the will, claim he was forgotten. $1 proved I'd considered him and chosen to exclude him. The life insurance beneficiary changed to Jennifer. My financial advisor helped me set up new safeguards. Any withdrawal over $1,000 required dual signatures, mine and Jennifer's. Monthly statements mailed to both of us. Oversight. Protection. I worked with Susan to create a medical rights card for my wallet. Laminated, business card sized. Listed Jennifer as emergency contact, Susan's office number, and a clear statement: I, Barbara Chen, have full legal capacity. If medical decisions are questioned, contact my attorney immediately. Small thing, but it made me feel safer. 2 months after everything was finalized, I attended a senior center workshop, Protecting Yourself from Financial Exploitation. I sat in the back, listened to the presenter talk about warning signs, family members suddenly interested in finances, pressure to sign documents, isolation from friends. During Q&A, I raised my hand. I went through this, I said. My son put me in hospice after routine surgery, forged documents, stole money. I'm sharing because if someone in your family is suddenly very interested in your assets, trust your instincts, document everything. Don't ignore red flags because you want to believe the best about people. The room was silent. Then an older woman in the front row raised her hand. How did you find the courage to fight back? I didn't feel courageous. I felt trapped. But then I realized I had people who believed me. A surgeon, a patient advocate, an attorney. And once I had allies, I wasn't alone anymore. That's what made the difference. After the workshop, 3 people approached me. Wanted to talk. One woman's daughter had been asking about updating estate plans. Another man's son kept calling about making sure everything was in order. They'd felt uneasy but didn't know what to do. I gave them Susan's card. Susan later told me she'd used my case in hospital training materials, new protocols at Riverside Hospital. Any hospice admission directly from surgical recovery got flagged for secondary review. Family members activating power of attorney during a hospital stay triggered an automatic patient advocate check-in within 24 hours. My case became a teaching example. One victim's fight changed the system. That felt like something. Like Michael's betrayal hadn't just destroyed our relationship, it had protected other families, made it harder for someone else's son or daughter to do what Michael did. Small consolation. But consolation nonetheless. Margaret, my neighbor, visited me every week during recovery, brought mystery novels from book club we were reading Louise Penny that spring. After I was discharged from rehab and back home, Margaret organized a quiet welcome home gathering. Not a party, just coffee on my porch with 3 friends from garden club. Nothing dramatic. Just normalcy. Margaret told me later, I knew something was wrong when you didn't answer my text that Tuesday. You always answer. So I called Jennifer immediately. You called Jennifer? Of course. You just had surgery. Radio silence? That's not like you. Jennifer flew out the next day, started asking questions at the hospital. That's how the patient advocate got involved. I hugged her. Thank you. That's what neighbors do. The Pyrex dish collection had grown to 14 now. Margaret kept bringing casseroles, tuna noodle, chicken and rice, shepherd's pie. I'd return the dishes, and 2 days later she'd show up with another one. It became a running joke. Jennifer teased, "At this rate, you'll need a whole cabinet just for Margaret's dishes." I didn't mind. Every casserole was a reminder I had people who cared, who checked on me, who noticed when something was wrong. Attorney Susan became more than a lawyer. We met quarterly, she reviewed my financial statements, made sure everything looked normal, updated legal documents annually. Pro bono work, she insisted. Your case matters, she said. It changed how our firm screens for elder abuse. We created a whole intake protocol because of you. One afternoon, over coffee at her office, Susan told me, "Your testimony helped 3 other families. They came forward after hearing about your case. Said if you could fight back, so could they." Did they win? 2 did. 1's still in court. But yes, they're fighting, because you showed them it was possible. That made me cry. Not sad tears. Relief. Like Michael's betrayal had somehow inadvertently done good. Protected strangers I'd never meet. Jennifer and I grew closer. Weekly dinners, sometimes at her house, sometimes at mine. Daily texts. How's the hip? Physical therapy today? Coffee tomorrow? Her kids visited every Sunday. We worked in the garden together, baked cookies, had normal grandparent-grandchild time. Jennifer still felt guilty. I should have seen the signs. He fooled both of us, I reminded her. That's on him, not you. One Saturday, Jennifer helped me sort through old photos. We found the fishing picture Michael at 10, holding up his catch, Richard's hand steadying him. Jennifer looked at it for a long time. What do we do with this? I thought about it. Put it in a box, in the attic. I'm not ready to display it, but I'm not ready to throw it away either. She nodded. We put it with other memories, wedding photos from Michael's first marriage, Christmas cards from years past, the history of who we used to be. Then Jennifer pulled out a newer photo, taken last month at her house, me, Jennifer, her kids, Carlos, all of us in the backyard, laughing at something one of the grandkids had said. This one goes on the mantle, Jennifer said. I agreed. Old family, new family, the people who stayed, the people who protected me. By fall, I was fully recovered. No more walker, no more physical therapy, just normal life. I drove myself to the grocery store, went to book club meetings, worked in the garden. Jennifer lived 20 minutes away, but I managed my own household. Independence restored. Some mornings I made coffee in Richard's mug and sat on the porch, watched Margaret walk her golden retriever, waved to neighbors. The routine I'd had before the surgery, before Michael, before hospice, before everything came back. Not exactly the same. I was more careful now, more aware, but the rhythm returned. I was okay, not healed, probably never fully healed, but okay, and that was enough. 6 months later, I started therapy in July, twice a week at first, then weekly. Dr. Lisa Chen, no relation, specialized in trauma and elder abuse. Her office was quiet, comfortable, a couch, not a clinical chair. Soft lighting. She didn't rush me. The first few sessions, I cried a lot. Talked about the hospice room, the yellow roses, Michael's voice on the phone talking about the house sale like I was already gone. Dr. Chen asked questions I hadn't considered. When did you start feeling responsible for Michael's happiness? What did you sacrifice to avoid conflict? How do you define boundaries now? The work was hard, uncomfortable, but necessary, because I realized Michael hadn't just betrayed me. I'd betrayed myself for 20 years. Every time I wrote a check I couldn't afford. Every time I ignored red flags because I didn't want to face the truth. Therapy helped me understand that, not excuse it, understand it. In August, Dr. Chen suggested a support group, elder abuse survivors, met Thursdays at the senior center. I almost didn't go, seemed embarrassing somehow, admitting what happened to strangers. But I went. 8 of us. Ages, ranging from 65 to 87. Different stories. Same pattern. Adult children stealing money. Grandchildren forging signatures. In-laws manipulating estate plans. Financial abuse, isolation, control. After I shared my story, the condensed version, not every detail, an older gentleman nodded. My nephew did the same thing, tried to get me declared incompetent so he could access my pension. Took me 6 months to fight it. A woman across the circle. My daughter convinced my doctor I had dementia. I didn't. She just wanted my house. We weren't just survivors. We were witnesses for each other, proof that fighting back was possible, that we weren't crazy, weren't paranoid, that what happened to us was real, wrong, criminal. The group didn't fix everything. Some days I still woke up angry. Some days I still replayed the mediation, Michael's confession, his tears. But the group reminded me healing wasn't linear. It was ongoing. And I wasn't alone in it. By October, I was back to my old routines. Coffee on the porch every morning, Richard's mug, same spot, watching the neighborhood wake up, Margaret's dog walks, garden work on good weather days. Book club Mondays, we'd moved on from Louise Penny to Tana French, mysteries set in Ireland. Jennifer came for dinner Wednesdays. Sometimes I cooked, sometimes she did. Her kids visited Sundays, we'd work in the garden together, bake cookies, just normal grandparent time. Carlos joined sometimes, helped with household repairs I couldn't manage, fixed the porch railing, cleaned the gutters. Not because I couldn't hire someone, but because family helps. That's what healthy families do. I was managing, living independently in my own house, driving myself to appointments, paying my own bills. The hip was fully healed. I walked without pain, worked in the garden without limitation, independence restored. That had always been the goal. In November, Michael sent a letter. Forwarded through Susan's office, the no-contact order required any communication go through my attorney first. I opened it carefully. Read it twice. Mom, I'm in therapy now, twice a week. My therapist says I need to take accountability. So here it is. I was desperate and I made you pay for my failures. The business, the debt, Brenda's spending, none of that was your fault, but I acted like it was your responsibility to fix. I convinced myself I was helping you by moving you to hospice, that you'd be comfortable there. I know that's insane now. I know what I did was unforgivable. I don't expect you to respond. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I see what I did, and I'm trying to understand why. Michael. I set the letter down. Looked out the window at the garden. The roses needed pruning before winter. The hydrangeas were browning. Work to be done. Did I forgive Michael? I didn't know. Maybe someday. Maybe never. Right now, I was just living. Rebuilding. That was enough. I didn't respond to the letter. Didn't throw it away either. Just filed it in a drawer. Maybe later I'd be ready to engage. Or maybe I wouldn't. That was my choice now. My boundary. Some days I wonder if he'll change, if therapy will actually help him understand what he did. Most days I don't think about him at all. I'm too busy living. That's the best revenge. Last week, I was at the senior center for a book club meeting. A woman approached me in the parking lot mid-70s, looked nervous. Are you Barbara Chen, the woman who spoke at the financial exploitation workshop? Yes. My daughter's been asking about my finances, wants me to add her to my bank accounts, says it's just easier if something happens, but something feels wrong. I thought about Michael. The power of attorney. The small transfers that became theft. Trust your instincts, I said. If something feels wrong, it probably is. Talk to an attorney before you sign anything. Document everything. Write down dates, conversations. And don't let anyone pressure you. My daughter wouldn't. She's not like that. I didn't think my son was either. Until he was. I pulled out my wallet. Found Susan's card. Call this attorney. Get a second opinion. It might be nothing, but if it's not nothing, you'll be glad you were careful. She took the card, thanked me, drove away. I stood there in the parking lot, watching her go, and I thought, maybe that's the legacy. Not the court case, not the mediation, not even the hospital protocol changes. Maybe the legacy is this. One woman helping another woman protect herself. One survivor telling another survivor, You can fight back. I did. If you're facing this elder abuse, financial exploitation, family betrayal, you're not alone. It happens. More than people admit. More than families want to acknowledge. But so does justice. So does healing. So does survival. I'm Barbara Chen. I'm 72 years old. I woke up from surgery in hospice. My son forged documents, stole money, tried to steal my life. And I'm still here. Living independently, making my own decisions, drinking coffee on my porch every morning. Still here, still standing, still me. That's enough.